propaganda. Killing him would be more than a German defeat in Africa. It would be a disaster for the Third Reich. What really happened when the Allied commandos reached Rommel's HQ deep behind enemy lines? (1941), German-held North Africa. Allied commandos set out on a mission so dramatic Hollywood could never have scripted it. To capture or kill the Desert Fox, Nazi General Erwin Rommel, in his headquarters deep behind enemy lines. Before the raid on Rommel, the hit squad takes cover in a cave 8 kilometers from the Nazi HQ.
This will keep your spirits up.
Preparing for the attack, the commandos' leaders issue a special kind of drug.
We know that Special Forces units were actually issued with benzodrine, as were these commandos. And benzodrine is a kind of amphetamine, and it would have given them tremendous energy, it would have kept them awake, and it would really have speeded them up. But of course, there's a tremendous crash which follows a few days later. And I think that had quite a serious effect on special service troops that really isn't known about.
Their leader, Captain Jeffrey Keyes, had a very personal motivation to lead this raid, one that cast a shadow on the operation.
Jeffrey Keyes' father was a hero of World War I. He was also Admiral of the Fleet and also Commander of Combined Operations, which meant that he was Jeffrey Keyes' boss. Now, Keyes definitely came here seeking glory that would gain him the kind of fame that his father had. He wanted to go down in history as the man who killed or captured the Desert Fox, Rommel, and that's always dangerous.
What really happened in Rommel's headquarters remains a mystery to this day. Michael Asher's retracing of the commando raid continues further east, close to the Libyan border with Egypt. He's searching for the headquarters where the assault on Rommel took place. But it's a dangerous journey. The Libyan military has to guide him through minefields left over from the war.
We're driving along the edge of a minefield, which is still live. And if we go off this road, anything could happen.
Stop.
A sudden stop, mines in the way. The military engineer resets the wires supposed to warn passers-by.
Captain Ramadan told me that the reason they planted so many thousands of mines here was to provide an invincible protective wall against the troops advancing against them, and to protect this line of fortresses they built across the desert. No.
Thousands of locals have been killed or injured by these mines since the war.
No. Even people have driven off the road in their cars, have been killed when mines exploded. And many people walking or with their animals have been killed or injured in this area. So it's very important we stay strictly on this road.
The convoy moves on deeper into the Libyan desert. Finally, ruins of wartime buildings. A severe battle has obviously taken place here.
Being here, you really do get the feeling of what it must have been like 70 years ago. There's still shell holes, bullet holes in the walls. There are still artifacts lying around, shell cases and bits of old jerry cans. You really do have the feeling of what it must have been like defending this place against the Germans.
Is this the site of Rommel's headquarters where the British raid took place? Throughout the campaign, the Desert Fox used different HQs to confuse the enemy. Historian Asher inspects the site's layout. It doesn't look like Rommel's modern-style HQ where the capture mission took place. Asher gets new information. The Allied commandos are said to have attacked Rommel's headquarters in an area further west. Green Square in Tripoli, the capital of Libya. Ex-Special Forces officer Asher passes into the Medina, the old city, for an important meeting. He has learned that the location of Rommel's wartime HQ now lies on restricted state property. At the National History Center, he seeks special permission to enter the site. Finally, he's allowed to enter the restricted property of the former Nazi HQ with his Libyan witnesses.
There are many differing reports about what happened on that day that Jeffrey Keyes was killed. And I think only by coming to the place itself and by examining it can we really find an answer to what actually happened on that day.
Asher believes that the original locations will reveal their own story. The British commandos are following intelligence that Rommel has recently been spotted at these headquarters. To celebrate his 50th birthday with a small dinner party. Security is low. The German forces don't expect their enemy so far behind the lines.
Es wird gefährlicher werden.
Gefährlich.
Ich glaube, wir sollten Rundgang machen.
Today, historian Asher meets an important eyewitness, a Libyan who worked as a cook for the German forces. Aissa Bougraim witnessed the events at Rommel's headquarters a few hours after the raid.
When he came here early in the morning of that day, the place was full of people. There were officers, Italian, German. They were very excited about something. There were vehicles here. There were guards standing around here. So at first he couldn't go in through this door. He went round the side here and he found the bodies of 3 German soldiers lying there.
On the night of the raid, the commandos wanted to gain entrance from the back, but forcing the back door open would have alerted the Germans. So they chose a much more dangerous approach, attacking the HQ's entrance. What will be waiting for them in the lair of the Desert Fox? Libya in North Africa. British operatives are attacking the headquarters of Nazi General Erwin Rommel. Inside, a fatal gunfight erupts, leaving commando leader Captain Jeffrey Keyes dead. Some 70 years later, historian Michael Asher investigates with Libyan witnesses what really happened in the Nazi HQ. Aissa Bougraim, then a 22-year-old cook, arrived at the HQ shortly after the attack.
When he came in here, the first thing he saw was Jeffrey Keyes lying just here at the bottom of the stairs. He was dressed in British military uniform. He had blood coming from underneath the ear, which is soaked through his uniform.
Asher inspects the layout of the house for clues to where and how the commando leader died. He discovers the room where the fatal shootout is supposed to have taken place. 3D graphics help reconstruct the conflicting scenarios as to how the commando's leader may have died.
The official report states that Keyes moves over towards this door. He opens the door, looks inside. He sees 10 German soldiers here who are taken by surprise. He then closes the door, tells Campbell to prepare grenades, opens the door again, moves inside, and is promptly shot by one of the German soldiers. At this point, Sergeant Terry, who is behind Keyes, armed with a Tommy gun, fires a burst of bullets at the German soldiers, and over his shoulder, Captain Campbell throws 1 or 2 grenades inside.
Asher believes something is terribly wrong with this official version.
The official version of events just doesn't make sense. No professional soldier is going to open a door of a room, expose himself to the enemy, close the door and then open it a second time, knowing for certain he's just going to be shot.
Is the official British version a big cover-up? Internal German wartime documents now reveal one of the Germans reports that the first British soldier into the room was carrying a machine gun. This couldn't have been Keyes, who only carried a pistol.
The Germans see a man coming towards them dressed in British military uniform with a Tommy gun. I believe this was Sergeant Jack Terry, who was carrying a Tommy gun. I believe at this point, Keyes is already down.
So how did Keyes really die?
The German report states that when they entered this door, they found standing here a very big, very tough German rifleman, Rifleman Jamatta. And Keyes began to wrestle with Jamatta, at which point Captain Robin Campbell tries to shoot the guard, but ended up shooting Geoffrey Keyes by mistake.
A dark mystery is revealed. It appears that the commando's leader may have actually been killed by friendly fire. One question remains. If this is what happened, why such a cover-up?
I think there was a deliberate cover-up. I think that, you know, Geoffrey Keyes was a privileged officer. He was the son of the commander of combined forces, a British naval hero, and I think there was a very serious attempt to cover up what had happened, which most probably was an accident, but was turned into something very heroic and honourable.
The mission's last stroke of bad luck was the ultimate irony. Rommel wasn't even there. Due to engine trouble with his plane, the Nazi general was still stuck in Greece and returned to Libya only hours after the raid. Paying respect to the courage of the commandos, Rommel orders his men to bury Captain Keyes with full military honours. But this was far from the last commando raid behind enemy lines. Allied operatives prepare more daring missions to capture top-level Nazi leaders. One of the most exotic plots targets Hitler's commander on the Greek island of Crete.
Halt!
This time, will they strike a big blow against the Third Reich? On the Greek island of Crete, an expert team investigates another Allied kidnapping operation that took place here back in spring 1944. The mission of that commando team, to capture Nazi General Heinrich Kreiper, commander of the German occupying forces on Crete. Just a few months before D-Day, British Prime Minister Churchill approved the mission as a piece of misdirection, trying to trick the Germans into believing the Allied invasion would not attack in France, but in Greece. Cretan resistance fighters and British agents were to capture the Nazi general and to escape through the island's wild mountains.
There had been other missions to grab German generals, but they were not successful. This was the one and only time that it was a success. The big question to me is, why was this mission so successful? How did these men get here and snatch a German general right from under his command's noses?
April 1944. To land on the Nazi-held island, the British used the hidden coves on Crete's south coast. More than 65 years later, an ex-airborne ranger investigates how the agents overcame this rugged coast. Derek Campbell served on secret capture missions in Asia during the 1970s, but saw nothing like this.
It staggers me, it impresses me that these men were able to do this in this type of terrain at night. That's just, to me, it's mind-boggling. It really is. With the training that I had, I think people would need at least another 6 months training just doing this specific thing. You know, just looking at this, it's a bone breaker.
With him are Katerino Anagnostakis and Nikos Gigotakis, two historians from Crete.
Is this Maridaki?
Yes.
Oh, here was the place then.
They are searching for the beach where the British commandos landed in their hunt to capture the Nazi general. From the moment of occupation, British boats from Allied-held areas in North Africa secretly travelled to Crete's southern coast to supply a network of resistance fighters against the German enemy on the island. Now, Derek and his team are looking for landmarks which suggest the right spot for a commando landing.
Looking at it from here, from the ocean side, there is marks that they could have used for orienteering.
The information is that the British submarines, they could land exactly in this place because the water is deeper than 20 meters, exactly in this place.
Is this also the place where the hit squad landed with their dinghies?
This is like the part that sticks out. And that right there would be a good landmark. Once they saw this rock formation, the jut out here, they're coming in the other way, all they would have to do would be to make a right.
Some 3 years before the commandos' raid, Crete has been conquered by German forces. But this mountainous south coast remains hard for them to control. Having inspected this particular beach area, Derek Campbell now believes the kidnapped commandos would have tried to land on a flatter spot.
Because it's a very long and steep trip to get up into the mountains to get towards where the general was. I mean, they had to look for the easiest way to be able to move fast. In this area here, it would have been impossible.
The team now suspects the landing beach of the wartime commandos may be further east along this coast. In a village nearby, the expert team finds an old man who's been living here since the war. Manolis's father witnessed where the British commandos landed in their attempt to kidnap Nazi General Crete.
It says that the Germans were up there. The exact point was over there, where the rocks are. As you go behind this rock that is at the end of the beach, you could see the place where they landed.
For ex-airborne ranger Campbell, the challenge for these agents was much harder than his own modern-day mission experience.
We would not have come in on dinghies. We would probably have come in with helicopters. We would have a couple of Cobra gunships to come in first. They would take out the searchlight that was down that way. Our motto was always get in, get out, get on. That's the difference. We had technology, these operatives did not. They had their own homemade technology for the times, which was using the local population, blending in with the local population, and avoiding contact at all costs with the Germans.